It's time for a cup of coffee with Will and Chris at Slumberland Furniture. From Slumberland Furniture in Osage Beach, here are your hosts, William Holtz and Chris Schneider.
Welcome to this week's edition of Cup of Coffee right here at Slumberland at the Lake. I'm Wild Will.
I'm Uncle Chris.
And listen, you're getting ready to head out of town. You're not going to be here next week, so we got to make this week count. We're going to have Jeff Karr on to talk about his Veterans Discount Guide. Of course, you know him from 92.7. That guy is incredible. Mike Clayton's co-host.
Yeah.
Mike's retired, and Mike's going to be the one filling in for you next week. But like I said, we got to make the most of having Uncle C here this week. Some great local headlines. Everyone's asking, is the casino going to happen at the lake?
Right.
And we got a petition on that we'll tell you about. Sports rundown, Chiefs win, and it wasn't a close one, probably their best performance of the year. We'll talk about that, tell you about all that's happening on Lake TV this cold, wintry time of year, that and a whole lot more. But first, we told you about the Purple mattresses. They've also got their closeout sale going on right here at Slumberland. That and a whole lot more. To tell us more, Daryl Cunningham.
Hey everybody, Daryl Cunningham with Slumberland Furniture at the Lake. Still have our huge clearance sale going on. Not only do we have mattresses and adjustable bases on sale, but we've got furniture for every room of the house. Sofas, recliners, dining sets. Come check it out. Slumberland at the Lake, save tons of money and even do 0% interest financing. Come see us. Slumberland Furniture at the Lake, where we're bringing happy home.
And we're back. And make sure if you do stop by Slumberland, you tell them that Will and Chris sent you. Now, as promised, we have Jeff Karr from Mix 92.7. A lot of you know him as the morning show, but what you should know about him is he's a decorated Navy veteran, and he's working on something that's very, very near and dear to his heart, a new project we're here to talk about. So, Jeff, thanks for coming on today, my friend.
Well, I appreciate it. Getting the word out about this is a big thrill for me, and I appreciate being on the show with you.
Our pleasure, man. We love our veterans. So first, thank you for your service. And then when we talk Veterans Discount Guide 2024, first year ever. I know it's some kind of guide, but before you tell us what it is, you tell us how it started or the why behind this, because I feel like this is very important to you.
It is. About 3 years ago on Veterans Day, I was on the air on Mix 92.7 and tried to come up with a comprehensive list of all the discounts and the breakfasts and all the good stuff that the local community was doing for veterans that day, and couldn't come up with a one-stop shop of veterans deals that were out there. So they put a little seed in there. So I started thinking about it. 3 years later, a lot of conversations with the boss, with Katie Karr, the person who runs this whole thing. I'm just the face of it and the guy who served. We decided to come up with the Veteran Discount Guide. We started selling it to people. People got crazy about it and loved it. So the combination of not only discounts that are in local businesses, but also veteran-owned businesses that are out there, we decided that there was other opportunities too to talk about veteran programs, and I'll get into that a little bit as far as charities and stuff. And we also wanted to do something for those businesses that gave back to those charities. So that's a big part of what we're trying to do. Veteran discounts, we've got Hy-Vee is a part of our magazine this year. Veterans programs, Cibola, of course, has, Central Bank has VA loans. Veteran-owned businesses like Wicked Sugar and Collier's Tree Service. Also, we have a Heroes Outreach program that we came up with ourselves, which we're really excited about. There's some businesses, real estate agents and insurance companies that can't advertise veteran businesses or veteran discounts. They just can't do it. It's not legal for them. So we came up with a way for them to donate to veteran charities. And we vetted 3 of them, which we're really excited about. One of them is called Heroes Outreach, which is John Morlock. He does amazing things for veterans. Also, Welcome Home. It's a Columbia outfit that helps with transitional housing for veterans. And then the Marine Corps Toys for Tots, which has been around forever. So if you make a donation to those charities, then we'll let you in the book. That was one of the things I wanted to make sure that this was, something that helped veterans, not just an advertising book, but an advertising book of those people that did their part to help veterans.
So basically, you get an ad because you donated to the charity.
Some of them did because they wanted to get involved. Michael Elliott, real estate agent at the lake, just saw this and just went crazy, him and his wife Karen. But real estate agents can't give a donation back on their commission. So we decided to ask them to give a nice donation to one of these charities. They did. They get in the book, and then they get recognition for that.
That's awesome.
So,
and you're right. The Heroes Outreach Program with John Morlock is superb. His story in itself is unbelievable.
Talking to Gina Goff and finding out that Gina wanted to help John Morlock with the movie that she's doing here at the Lake of the Ozarks just really gave me another inspiration to get this thing going.
That's way cool. So you've been working on this for a while, and it kind of runs down some different discounts and some different businesses that are owned by veterans. And you talked about the why behind it, but talk a little bit about the response, because like you hit the nail on the head. During Veterans Day, you'll see the Facebook post, free lunch from 11 to 2, but it's like, how do I keep track and get more of that information in front of the veterans that could utilize it? And so how's your response been?
Well, the sales response has been incredible. We've got 60 plus businesses that joined this, and it just couldn't be more excited about them. We're going to have the book actually in those businesses, any of them that have customers that are coming in, plus the American Legion and the AmVets and the Elks and other places that veterans congregate will have books there as well. 15,000 copies we'll put out for this year. And so we're going to do this once a year. That was part of the selling process too. We kept it fairly cheap for the advertisers, and we wanted to give 15,000 copies away. We're not selling them, of course. So that was a big inspiration in this whole thing, that people just kept motivating me to keep selling it because they were like, you got to talk to this person. Of course, they're a vet or they have a veterans program. So it was just this snowball effect that just kept going and really worked out well.
That's amazing. And so I see this is like your proof, which I'm pretty impressed because this is not easy to put together and this is pretty sharp.
Right.
So when can people get their hands on the 2024 Veterans Discount Guide?
We're looking at mid-February. We've got about another week left of putting together articles. That's another thing about this. This is going to be information for veterans about the VA and veterans programs and the Heroes Outreach Program. And so it's not just a monetary thing. There's information in there for veterans to use. What I want to tell people also is, if you're not a veteran, look at the book, grab the book, support those businesses that support veterans. That's a very important part of this. Not just for veterans and making 10% off of their deals, which is fantastic, but you pick one up and you go to this place because it's got a veteran deal. And we would really, really appreciate everybody picking up a copy. I know we don't have much time. I want to thank my wife, Katie Karr, one more time. Thank you, Kate. Couldn't have done it without you.
Your guys' love for each other. Yeah. Jeff Karr, Veterans Discount Guide. Get it in mid-February everywhere around the lake. We'll be right back after this. Some upcoming basketball on Lake TV.
What an amazing high school basketball season it's been so far on Lake TV. We've been dazzled by the ladies and impressed by the men. Don't worry, we've got plenty more great hoop action on the way. Girls games presented by Chris Caesar, Arrowhead title. Boys games presented by the Bruce and Kelly team, Remax Lake of the Ozarks. Friday, February 2nd, the Eldon Mustangs hit the road to play the powerful Tigers of Versailles. Friday, February 9th, longtime conference rivals California and Eldon go head-to-head. Then we head to Osage for the Indians' annual court-warming game just before Valentine's. Hallsville will be in town. February 15th, an amazing rivalry doubleheader between Eldon and Osage. First the ladies, then the men go at it. Last game of the season will be on February 22nd in Camdenton. The Lakers home against California. Join us for the COMC pregame show just before tip-off of every game. So much more great high school hoops on the way here on Lake TV.
So, of course, that was Jeff Karr, and everyone loves Jeff here on the lake area, and that Veterans Discount Guide, really neat. So not just important that you help veterans get their hands on that, find out about that program, that guide, and also support the businesses that are in there that are offering that discount to our veterans. We'd love to see that. And then, of course, after Jeff, we got to see, hey, there's still high school basketball coming up on Lake TV. A little bit of a hiatus, but still, hey, 6 games on the schedule starting with February 2nd, and 5 boys games, 1 girls game with a doubleheader. What a season of high school basketball it's been.
Yeah, it's been so much fun already, and some of our best games, I think maybe even our best games of the year, still to come in February. Yeah. I'm really looking forward to that game on the 2nd, Eldon and Versailles. Versailles is one of the best teams in the state in their class right now. That's pretty impressive. Osage is getting better all the time. We've got a doubleheader with them in Eldon, and we've got another Camdenton, California game. So, yeah, great month. And keep in mind that we do what we call encore games, replays of games we've already done this season on Tuesday and Friday nights, 7:32. So be sure to check those out.
Yeah, and some of those are great. Yeah. Let's say you don't get a chance to watch the game. The encore, and then, of course, later, those can become classic games.
Yeah.
And those are some of the closest, tightest matchups we've had.
I love watching the classic games with you calling them about 10 years ago. I mean, those are classic. They live up to their name.
I was a baby.
You were. I mean, it's so fun. And, you know, the equipment wasn't as good back then and stuff like that. It's just so fun to watch those games for all the little things going on.
Which was a blessing. You couldn't see me as clearly as you do now on football. So, hey, as we move into local headlines, all the time, Chris, people are asking us about the big headlines that we cover. Hey, what about the development? You know, what's happening with the outlet ball? And one of the topics we get a ton is the casino coming, or one of the 2 casinos? What's the latest on that? And as we look at our friends at Lake Expo, they announced and did the story on there's actually a petition effort here around the, really in the state of Missouri, a petition to have a casino at the lake. What can you tell us?
Well, keep in mind there's 2 different casino projects. The one is from the Osage Indian Nation,
correct?
Right, and they're like a like their own nation, right?
Yeah.
So they've got to go through different hoops to come in with a casino. Then there's another group that is trying to change the Missouri Constitution to add another casino on the water, right? So there's news on that front. If you're out and around over the next few months, you might be approached by somebody asking if you support a state-regulated casino at the Lake of the Ozarks. So Osage River Gaming and Convention, that's ORGC, the investor group behind the petition, they're hoping to get enough signatures to get this question on the November ballot, again, because they have to change the Constitution in order to do this. And they have until mid-April, and the ballot question would ask Missourians whether they would like to change the state constitution to allow a casino on the river and to add an additional 14th gaming license, because now they're stuck at 13, right? So they would add another one to embark, and the way they're going to try to sell this is to get more tax revenues from the casinos that will pay teachers. That's always what that and the lotto use that as the big selling point, right?
Yeah.
So they are actually going to be canvassing in all the major cities, because this is a statewide thing. It's not just a Lake of the Ozarks thing. They're getting people voting from all over the state. So they've got people in St. Louis, Kansas City, Columbia, Springfield, and they're gathering signatures in 6 of Missouri's 8 congressional districts. So they're really making a big push to get this done, to be able to bring a casino to the Lake of the Ozarks area. And this is not the Indian casino. This is the other casino. So here it comes. Here comes the big push.
And so in all, right now, the state of Missouri allows 13 casinos, and they have to be either on a body of water within a certain distance in proximity to the water. And so there's 2, the Osage Nation, they would be their own sovereign nation, and they would get absolute sovereignty, and they would operate under a different set of bylaws, and they would also not fall under the Missouri Gaming Constitution or the Missouri Gaming Commission. And so then there's the other one that says, hey, we're petitioning to change it from 13, which is the maximum, as you alluded to now, to a 14th. So let's say this would happen, the Osage Nation could still happen. Not only could we have 2 casinos close to the lake, we could have 15 total in the state of Missouri. You mentioned the petition, the effort now, and that they're hoping to get signatures. It's going to need 173,000 signatures in order to, it says, clear the CIP process. They're actually aiming to gather over 200,000 just to play it safe. And so if you're out and about, now it's not just like you said, the lake area, the lake area may not be for this, and we've seen that a lot of opposition, but listen, the lake represents such a small percentage of the state of Missouri. I imagine that these petitioners, they're gonna be in, like you said, St. Louis, Kansas City, the higher concentrated area, Springfield, because if they're the ones that get those signatures, that really goes on the ballot. And so our question here for you, Lake of the Ozarks, we wanna know, do you support a 14th casino here at Lake of the Ozarks? Either casino. We want to know, do you, the Lake of the Ozarks, are you for having a casino down here at Lake of the Ozarks? And would you sign the petition in favor should you be approached and presented with that opportunity? We're curious because there's pros and there's cons, and we've looked at both sides, but we're always interested to know. In Lake Expo's voters poll, and I don't know, Chris, if their voters poll was just their readers or was a representation of the statewide poll up to this point, but 60% were yes and 70% were no, which was a little surprising for me if it was at the lake. So I want to gauge just at the Lake of the Ozarks, do you guys support a casino and would you sign a petition in favor of one?
So 60% were yes and 40% were no? So it seemed like people around here would like to have a casino.
I was unaware or unsure if that was just like Lake Expo readers or if they were sharing like a poll that was already published statewide by somebody else.
Yeah.
I was uncertain of that because I was led to believe, I would think if you asked the locals on a whole, that they would be against it, probably closer to 65, 70 no, 30% yes, and that's why I want to know. So our question to you is, do you support a casino at the Lake of the Ozarks, and would you sign a petition allowing a 14th petition, or at least to go on the ballot in November?
And it's interesting, too, that since this is a statewide thing, people here at the Lake of the Ozarks might not want it, but it doesn't matter because if the rest of the state votes it in, then it's coming in, right? Yeah, that's an interesting situation.
St. Louis is big enough. You could get 200,000 people in St. Louis alone to sign the petition, and then that would pass the CIP process. But it would still then have to go on the ballot in November. It would have to pass the yes vote, and if it passed the yes vote, I believe there'd be other legalities and process. But if you saw the timeline, I love that Lake Expo. These illustrations they're putting together. Yeah. Can we give them a shout out?
Absolutely.
Lake
We
Expo.
love the Lake Expo.
I'm telling you what, they've got Tegan, used to be Shockley. I don't know her new name. She's an amazing writer. She's learning from Nathan over there. But they're starting to put these timelines together. Yep. We saw it in a previous story. And this is just great. Shows you 1984 is when horse race betting and lottery were legalized in the state of Missouri, and all the way down through 2023 where the third legislative attempt failed, and that was last year as we covered. And so this timeline shows you how the state of Missouri feels from zero to jackpot, but just phenomenal work by Lake Expo on that timeline, and we put that on screen so you can see from 84 over the last 40 years. Will we have a casino down here at the lake? It'll be interesting to see.
I think it's coming. One way or the other, it's coming. Don't know how long it's going to take, but it's coming.
Very good. So also saw, which I don't know anything about what this means, so again, I'm going to refer to the expert, but the Ozarks have to be annexed. And I don't know, is that a good thing, a bad thing? I mean, what does that mean?
It's very interesting. Okay, so when I didn't see the story, you sent it over to me. I was like, wow, this is a big deal. So Ozarks Amphitheater, it's growing, of course, every year. They're doing more shows, bigger shows. So the amphitheater has agreed to annex with the city of Camdenton, right? So the agreement provides access for the amphitheater to city facilities. That's the biggest thing. That should be in place by the end of this year. That'll provide the city, so you're saying, well, what does the city get out of this? They get tax revenues up to about $120,000 a year. It was interesting because they get 2% of the sales tax payments for providing the water and the sewer. So the amphitheater grosses, I was reading some of these figures and I thought it was interesting. What was it, about $7 to $9 million a year or something like that? And so the city at 2% will rake in about another $120,000. So I think this is a good marriage between the two. Obviously the amphitheater wants this. Tom Abbott was saying it's time for us to do this. We're getting so big, and so it's just a nice piece of growth, I think, for both of those entities, for the city and for the amphitheater. And really, when you think about it, we were just talking about the casino. When the casino comes in, they're probably going to bring in musical elements that might try to take away from the amphitheater. So the amphitheater needs to be smart and do things like this to solidify their future.
Yeah, and it said that the possibility of annexation had been on owner Bill Karr, that's the owner of the amphitheater, since mid-2014, according to Tom Abbott, who is the Director of Business Development. We had him on a few weeks ago. Then the rebranded amphitheater had discussed with the city first when he purchased the venue, but the option was solidified when Camdenton approached the amphitheater with an important question. If the city was able to provide services that connected to the venue, would they do it? And this came about when MoDOT facility, right next door to the amphitheater, they requested annexation for the same purpose of city utilities, and annexation is contagious. Hooker went on to say, so once these two are in the city, others may annex as well. And so you saw someone next door with MoDOT do it, and there's benefit. And so good project. I was thinking maybe we could have Tom Abbott on again in the next couple of weeks to kind of explain to us exactly what are the benefits. You said use of property or buildings for the county, and then the county would get, or the city would get, tax revenue, so it's a win-win.
So currently the amphitheater grosses an estimated $6 to $7 million every year. That would result in about $120,000 in revenue for the city on the 2% taxes. So again, a win-win situation. And Tom Abbott was saying, our well is getting old and everything's getting old here, so this will be good for us.
So then the city would tap into city water, and that's the benefit. Because I was unsure on what was the benefit really for the amphitheater.
That and the sewers, yeah.
Perfect.
So that's the big deal, absolutely.
So a win-win, because obviously that's not going to hurt the city water or sewer,
right?
And the tax revenue will help offset any costs that they would incur. All right, so hey, it's official. We've been talking about it. Lake race, offshore, whatever you want to call it, it's official. The shootout has control, and dates have been announced, and they're in partnership with P1, Powerboat P1, which is the largest sanctioning body in the world. And so it looks like lake race offshore May 31st through June 1st, and they're going to call it the Lake of the Ozarks Shootout Offshore is what they're going to call it.
Yeah, and I think this is a great thing for this race, formerly known as lake race, right? And it struggled. It just hasn't been able to keep up with what the shootout does for various and sundry reasons. And so the shootout has taken it over, right? And since the shootout folks have had so much success, they know how to do this, so they've already started putting the pieces in place to make this a bigger, better, much more successful race, I believe. And it's right over that Memorial Day weekend, I think, of May 31st through June 1st. So, and that's when they've been doing it, I think, in the past as well. It's a different kind of racing than the shootout. Shootout is all time trials. It's all about, timing yourself, going as fast as you can in a run. These people are like racing like NASCAR on the water, which is really cool. It'll be interesting to see if it catches on. I think it's going to.
Yeah, that's interesting. I think it's a great move because shootout offshore. First lake race has been some uncertainty, been some, at times, chances to be negative about the event. And so immediately overnight, you already get a huge boost because your name is now Shootout Offshore. I mean, that name means a lot down here at the lake, and it means a lot nationally in the boating industry. So not only do you get that, you announce your partnership with P1, you've got the Shootouts Board of Directors, and so really, all good things for the Lake of the Ozarks as far as the boating industry, because I've always thought, man, if lake race could just get acclimated to that next level, and we had shootout and we had lake race, this would quickly become the boating capital in America. And now with this, I think the lake has a great shot at truly becoming the offshore boating capital in America.
No doubt. And Shootout and the Missouri State Highway Patrol Water Division, they've started meeting already to talk about the safety measures and the course planning. And the event is apparently going to be right along the 7-mile marker of the main channel right there around Shady Gators, Camden on the Lake. I think that's where it's been in the past. So.
Yeah, there's been that, or down by Old Beavers, now Neon Taco down there at the dam. And that location, I think, is better for it down there, you know, at the 7-mile marker. A lot more viewing, and it should be a great event. Again, mark your calendars, because May 31st and June 1st, like you said, gonna be exciting, and hopefully Lake TV will be somewhat involved. We'll keep you posted on that. Now, as we move ahead, we want to talk a little bit about sports. The playoffs are here. First, I want to mention real quick, Missouri basketball has a problem.
Boy, they talk about falling off a cliff from last year to this year. Bad, man.
This reminds me of the Frank Haith and the Kim Anderson lull we had for a couple of years, about 5 or 6 years ago. Looks bad. I don't know how hot the seat will get for Dennis Gates in year 2 after the success he had in the extension, but something to keep an eye on, because Missouri basketball is atrocious. I have a hard time watching it this season. You know how much I love my Tigers. It's just not fun to watch.
No.
You know, even when they win, they didn't deserve to win.
And I think Gates has got a little bit of a cushion because of his success last year. So they'll give him a year or 2 more, but if this keeps going on, he's going to be gone.
It just shows how quick the landscape changes in college, because, you know, at the end of last basketball season, Drink needs to go. He needs to take a page out of Dennis Gates' book. That was, you know, what I was saying. And now, fast forward about 6 to 7 months, and, you know, Drink gets the extension, National Coach of the Year. I thought he might be headed to Bama. And Gates, who I thought should have a lifelong contract, I'm asking how hot his seat might get. It's what have you done for me lately? And it's so crazy just how quick that changes in sports.
The life of a coach is hard, man. It's a hard life.
Okay, so the Chiefs, probably their best performance of the year against the Dolphins. And give me one thing that you thought the difference was for the Chiefs that you hadn't seen this year.
You know, there's an old saying in sports, the heart of a champion, and it's real. There's something to that, where champions know how and when to turn it on usually. And this Kansas City team is like that. So they putter around through the regular season. They don't look too good. And then all of a sudden the playoffs come and they flip a switch, and because they're champions, right? They did that in the cold against Miami. I think the cold helped them. And they looked really good. We'll see what they can do in Buffalo this week, because the Bills are good too.
Here's the difference for me. Mahomes' receivers made plays.
They caught the ball better when it was 0 than when it's 70.
You saw a couple that were dropped, but because of the cold weather, they're throwing a brick out there. But what's crazy is you saw that all season from the Chiefs receivers. This was the least amount of drops we had seen. Players were where they were supposed to be. I saw Mahomes' connection and chemistry with his receivers, like where they read each other's mind like you're used to seeing. Break off that route and settle there. You didn't see that this season. Playoffs are here, and you're starting to see it. Chiefs at Bills, Sunday night, 5:30. Who you got?
I don't know. I'm still trying to figure that out, man. I mean, the Bills, they have to be the favorite playing at home. In that weather, and they're playing so well. They beat the Chiefs at home earlier this season. So
they beat the Chiefs at Arrowhead. But here's what you have. You have 2 teams playing really well right now, and they've both already got a brutally frigid cold game under their belt. The only advantage is not the weather, because the Chiefs can play in cold weather. The advantage is the home team fans are going to be quiet when the Bills have the ball on those big plays, and you didn't get that at Arrowhead. And it seems like they've played big games at Arrowhead time after time after time.
I think I heard somebody say last week that Patrick Mahomes has not had to play a road playoff game in his career until the Super Bowls, of course. So that would mean this is Patrick's first road playoff game that's not a Super Bowl.
That's true, because they've hosted every AFC title game that they've been to, 5 of the last 6 or 4 of the last 5. So it is always a home playoff game. But he's so special in the playoffs. I mean, it's a new version of him if he's not already special. You saw the stat line, you know, come up early in the game, and I was like, is that real? Like, is that real? He doesn't make mistakes in the playoffs. Hey, don't miss the Lake TV Community Spotlight Show. You had Captain Chris Smith, that one airing right now. What a cool guy.
Yeah, what a great guy. So he's a boat captain here at the Lake of the Ozarks, has his master license. So, you know, I had to find out about that, right? How do you drive a boat? Got some tips from him on how to drive my boat, because I'm a terrible boat driver. But he also spent 38 years in law enforcement. Has some interesting stories to tell about that, too. So join us for the Spotlight Show this week. It's great.
That, and of course, Happy Hour with DJ Kyle at 6, noon, and 6 every single day. And we got some great new stuff coming for you. And be on the lookout. We'll be announcing some really exciting new segments, series, staff members, all kinds of great stuff. And just a little nugget as we end. We didn't get to really update you guys, but everyone's asking, when is the toll bridge going to close? Okay, I can't tell you how I found this out, but mark my words, May 1st, 2024, you will no longer be paying a toll at the Lake Area Community Toll Bridge. That's that. That's going to do it for this week's Cup of Coffee from Slumberland at the Lake. We'll see you next week.
You're watching Lake TV.